The following presentation is made possible, in part, by support from the Press Division and Taipei Cultural Center of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in New York, and by the Government Information Office in Taiwan. Welcome to City Cinematheque, where the art and pleasure of the movies are the subject of serious discussion. I'm your host, Jerry Carlson, and I teach film studies at the City College of the City University of New York. Today we're presenting as part of our Taiwanese film retrospective, The River, directed by Tsai Ming-liang. Tsai Ming-liang is one of those directors who's been compared with some of the masters of European cinema, most notably with Michelangelo Antonioni. But also, I think as you see this film, you're going to understand that he has his own sensibility, and sometimes even a sensibility related to certain kinds of modern literature. I need mention, for example, Kafka. We're going to be looking at this film very carefully afterwards. And you're also going to note that we're not going to be in the studios of CUNY TV when we return after today's film. That's because I had the pleasure of interviewing the director of this film, Tsai Ming-liang, in his garden of his offices in the city of Taipei. Now, take this opportunity to enjoy the remarkable cinema of Tsai Ming-liang. Welcome back to City Cinematheque. I hope you've enjoyed seeing one of the truly great Taiwanese films of the last 25 years, The River, directed by Tsai Ming-liang. Now, once again, you may have noticed that we are not in the studios of City University Television. In fact, we're sitting in the garden, which is the front yard of the production offices of Tsai Ming-liang himself. So we'll have the next 30 minutes in which to discuss the film with the director himself. Welcome to City Cinematheque, Tsai. So let's talk about the origin of this film. This film comes after you've made several feature films. Where does the idea come from for this film?
I have a close relationship with my actor. My movie, The River, came from a real story involving my actor and me. After we finished the previous movie, my key actor, Lee Kan-shun, got a strange disease for about 9 months. His neck got twisted. It almost felt like he had offended the god Ninja, because during the last movie, he had played Ninja who was supposed to rise. A month after the movie's finished, he developed the problem. He came to me and I took him to visit the ninja god to ask for forgiveness. I also took him to doctors, but nothing helped. His condition became worse and his neck turned almost 90 degrees. For the entire 9 months, Lee Kan-shun and his father and I ran around all of Taiwan trying to find a cure. We prayed to all kinds of gods, but nothing helped. Finally, he miraculously recovered. Nobody knows why. This event had an important impact on me. I discovered how vulnerable the human body is. We have no control over what's happening, not only physically, but also mentally. Every soul is so restricted. That's the reason I made this movie.
One of the things that people may see of Taiwan, if they look at one of the beautiful advertisements in a magazine in the United States, is the tallest building in the world. But that's not really, that world is not the world that interests you so much. So much of your film, and this film in particular, is about working class environments and the margins of Taiwanese society. Talk to us about why these environments interest you so much and why it's important for you to tell your stories from some of those environments.
This probably has something to do with my upbringing. I was born in Malaysia. My father was a farmer. To make ends meet, he was also selling noodles on the street. So I started to work on the street in childhood. I met working class people early on because they were our major customers. So after I grew up and came to Taipei, I often went to places where lower and middle class people go. I remember when I first came to Taiwan, I often went to the old Central Department Store. It's gone now. There I saw some veterans gathered having tea. They were non-provincials. There were also Taiwanese provincials busy doing business. I saw old people, young people, and street gangs. I liked that place a lot. There were many theaters around. My entire college years were spent there. For the last 20 years, Taipei has developed very fast. Bright, modern buildings have sprung up everywhere. Shops selling modern clothes and accessories. But those didn't interest me. My focus is still in street people, not in the white collars. Way back, I was trying to write a script called Viva Love, but I couldn't get myself interested in yuppies. Again and again, I found myself coming back to street vendors.
One of the features of global cinema these days, global commercial cinema, is it's very rapidly edited, and it's usually driven by music. Many very good films can be made this way, but it's not the only way to make films. So talk to us a little bit about your use of long takes, the way in which you like the pictorial about these environments, and also that you like to listen to these environments as well.
就像他说的，电影有很多可能性，你可以快速剪接，你可以
Like you said, the movie has a lot of possibilities. You can have a quick montage, and you can use music to add atmosphere, use all kinds of techniques to stimulate the audience.
来刺激观众，有很多可能性，这个也是我的拍电影的一个思考。
There is a great variety of techniques. This is something I think about a lot. Why, with so many possibilities, do the Hollywood and Hong Kong movies in theaters only use so few, so restrictive?
电影变成没有什么可能性。我想我会这样拍电影，最大原因是因为我可能在我读大学的时候。
The reason I shoot my movie this way is mainly because I saw a lot of non-mainstream movies when I was in college. New German cinema and the French New Wave. Those movies are relatively slow. They allow you to see the details of life instead of using editing to push emotions. I discovered that their method no longer merely tells a good story to you. Maybe after the movie you forget about the story, but you remember some details. You may remember a face, maybe an old lady's face. For example, the French director Bresson in the movie Mouchette. I can't forget the scene of a little girl trying to feed her baby sister. Without matches to light a fire, she uses her body to warm up a bottle of milk. I remember the details of that scene. This technique attracts me. What can we really get from a movie? The only answer is to slow down, stop quick movement, stop quick cuts, give people more room to think. Now I can hardly move my camera because I want to see. I want to really see, not just tell a story. That's the basic difference.
There's a way in which your films are more like silent films with the great characters. I think of Chaplin, or I think of Keaton, because there's a character who we want to follow his every action. And obviously for you, you have your key collaborator of Chao Kong. And could you talk about, for someone who doesn't know it, how you began this collaboration? How did you find him? And then what is it you find in him that's so useful to you as a collaborator?
我觉得小康可能是改变我的创作的一个最大的一个元素。
I think Xiao Kang is a big influence on me. He changed my movie making. He has a face that's not easy to read.
他有一张让人家不太容易读出来的一个脸孔，不太容易理解的一个，你不太知道他的心思在。
You don't know what he's thinking because he talks very little, like my late father. His appearance looks like my father, his shape and movements as well. I know nothing about my father because we had a very traditional relationship. My father wore a mask. He didn't want you to know him too much, so he could control you. I could feel that he loved me very much, but he'd never said anything or showed it. Xiao Kang is like that. I remember I met him on the street in 1991. I was looking for an actor, a bad kid who could harass others. He didn't look evil, but after you discover he's done a bad thing, you could believe he's capable. I was looking for someone for a long time. Then I met him on the street. He was never trained to be a professional actor, although he watched a lot of TV and movies. But he didn't mimic them. He would just be himself. At the beginning, I couldn't accept him being himself. I felt like he's a robot, walking so slowly and turning his head slowly. It doesn't matter how many times I told him to speed up. One day I asked him, "Can you be more natural or faster when you turn your head?" He said, "This is what I do naturally." I was shocked. I realized we approached acting selfishly, asking the actor to be this way or that way, thinking this way is more powerful, creating tension, etc. Actually, this kind of acting is far from reality. We always talk about wanting to shoot reality, but this is not reality. For example, when actors have dialogue, we make it funny so the audience will keep watching. That's not real life. People do not talk that way. So Xiao Kang's words changed me. I decided to follow his rhythm. So I accepted his speed. I even asked other experienced actors to slow down, to return to their real-life speed. I think Xiao Kang opened another window for me about acting.
It's always a good way to get the audience's attention. Let's talk about sex. So, your sex is key to many of your stories, but your attitude towards sex, the way you treat it cinematically and your characters, is as distant from the Hollywood treatment, if we can say that, as your style is. So, talk a little bit about why sex is one of the important features of these stories, or these, if they're not stories, these experiences that you're presenting to people.
如果他长期生活在亚洲的社会，或者是特别是现在的台湾，
If you live here long enough and notice the Taiwan politics,
到了21世纪啊，性还是一个
you will find, even in the 21st century, sex is still a major subject that tests if a person has an open mind or not.
人们的那个脑袋开不开放的一个议题。其实最近啊，我们不停地看到很多人。
Recently, you can see everywhere people use sex to control others. For example, scandals, homosexuality.
或者性向、性别、性向，
It makes you wonder why people are afraid of sex so much.
这个时代，我们还是那么害怕性这个事情。在台湾的电视100个
In Taiwan's hundreds of movie channels, there are some that discuss sex openly. There are a lot of programs about sex.
变得很公开的在谈性，满嘴都是在谈性，但是
But when they meet sex, everyone's nervous.
好像是可以被拿来当做一个
Sex can be used as a weapon to hurt someone or be hurt.
或者自己会被性伤害到的。我们的社会到现在还是这个样子，所以那我在拍《河流》已经有10年了。
It has been 10 years since I shot The River. That was a movie to be feared in Taiwan when it premiered.
被恐惧的一个作品，有很多人不敢看这个电影，或者有人骂这个电影的时候。
There were many people afraid to see this movie or curse the movie without seeing it. I always feel sex is a very common thing. Why do people take sex so seriously? But I also know sex in movies, in literature, is very different than it is in real life. It's a simple act in real life, but it is very complex to talk about. In Chinese families, your sister has a period, but she doesn't tell you. Neither does she tell father or mother, perhaps. So I want to reflect the commonness of sex in my films that will make my films more real. A person needs to eat, to sleep, and has sex issues he needs to resolve. He may masturbate to satisfy himself. The first Chinese movie to portray masturbation was one of my own films. Everyone thought that it was horrible, but now films about masturbation are everywhere. Very strange. Now it's a selling point. Sex can sell. It's full of contradictions. I always feel that with sex, when you discuss it, you are discussing the inside of a human being. How you view sex, your attitude towards sex, that's the most natural reflection of your humanity.
You're from Malaysia, not from Taiwan. This has been your home for many years. But you've been making a film, I believe, in Malaysia. Tell us a little bit about this project. I mean, I believe you're in post-production now. Why the return to Malaysia, and what is the project?
我觉得很有意思是
For the first film, I shot in Malaysia called I Don't Want to Sleep Alone. Partial funding came from Taiwan, the news bureau.
其实是有部分的资金是来自台湾就是我们的新闻局还是给了我
They considered me a Taiwanese director.
他们认同我
I took a group of Taiwanese actors and crew members to my hometown to shoot my first Malaysian
台
film.
湾的演员跟工作人员回到我的家乡去拍一个我的第一部的马来西亚
This film's funding is very interesting,
在那个电影里面
partly from Taiwan, partly from France, partly from Vienna. To celebrate the 250th anniversary of Mozart, the Viennese sponsored the film. So some funding came from Europe, some funding from Taiwan, but the film is about Malaysia.
所以它有欧洲的资金，有台湾的资金，但是拍的是一个马来西亚的电影当然我们还是会称它为
We can still call it a Taiwanese film, or a French film, or a Malaysian film. The world has changed. Now everyone invests together to reduce the risk. That gives the creator more freedom. I was very happy after I shot the film. I think this is the best one yet since I shot The River. I've shot 3 films after The River. I had the most freedom on this one. It's unpredictable that there was some uneasiness during the shooting. I didn't know what I shot, but after editing, I knew what the film was about. Since The River, I have always known what I'm trying to do in each film, but I wasn't very happy. This, despite the film The Wayward Cloud doing so well at the box office. But I was very happy with the movie I Don't Want to Sleep Alone. I don't know if it will do well at the box office. I think I've entered a new period with this movie. This film starred Lee Kan-chun and other Malaysian actors. In Malaysia, I found a new actor. He never acted in a film before, and he never thought he would star in a movie. He's a street vendor. I picked him because of his appearance. While I was shooting, I found something new. He acts with his manner, his upbringing, very detailed acting. In many scenes, he needs to take care of Sheo Kang and another Malaysian, but they have no dialogue. In the process of taking care of them, I was surprised to find such detailed, unexpected actions. Without the constraint of time and length, a new kind of impact is created. I have been very happy that I shot this movie.
Great. I'm sorry to tell you that in fact we've almost run out of time, but stay with me. If you'd like more information about City Cinematheque or about City University Television, please contact us through the internet. Our address is www.cuny.tv. Once again, www.cuny.tv. Tsai, I want to thank you for sharing with us this lovely patio, garden, and your many thoughts about your filmmaking. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Great. And I hope that you join us once again on other episodes of City Cinematheque when we do our best to stroll through the archives of film history. In any case, thank you for joining us today in our discussion with Tsai Ming-liang. Bye-bye for now. The preceding presentation was made possible, in part, by support from the Press Division and Taipei Cultural Center of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in New York, and by the Government Information Office in Taiwan.